My brother looked me dead in the eye and said, "If I can't have fun, then neither can you." 3 hours later, my 18th birthday party was cancelled. My guests were told I was sick, and I was standing in an empty kitchen realizing my entire childhood had been a lie. But here's the question that kept me up that night. What do you do when you finally realize your own family has been choosing your sibling over you for your entire life? Stay until the end, because what happened when I walked away turned their perfect family image into a complete disaster. And I didn't have to lift a finger. Hey everyone, my name is Emma, I'm 18 years old, and this is the story of how one cancelled birthday became the catalyst that finally exposed my family's toxic favoritism, and how karma came for them harder than I ever could have imagined. Before we dive in, if this story resonates with you at all, please hit that like button. It helps more people who need to hear this find it. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because trust me, the fallout gets intense. And drop a comment below telling me, have you ever been the forgotten sibling in your family? Because I want you to know you're not alone. Now let me take you back to the night everything changed. On the night of my 18th birthday, my mom cancelled my party because my brother threw a tantrum. I stood in our kitchen holding a tray of frosted cupcakes while my mom stared at her phone, tapping out apology texts to my guests like she was canceling a dentist appointment, not my milestone birthday. It started that morning when my brother Dylan stormed into the house, slamming the door so hard the picture frames on the wall rattled. He'd had some big road trip planned with his friends. A long drive, loud music, a concert he wouldn't stop bragging about for weeks. Something went wrong. The car broke down. The trip fell apart. And he came home furious. He didn't ask how my party planning was going. He didn't even look at the decorations spread across the table. He just pointed toward the backyard where I'd strung up cheap fairy lights and said with this cold, vindictive smile, "If I can't have fun, then neither can she." He didn't say my name. He didn't have to. My mom went quiet like someone had flipped a switch. By the time I realized what was happening, she had already messaged my friends and family, telling them the party was off for personal reasons. Nobody asked me. Hours later, the backyard was still set up. The cupcakes were lined up on the counter. My phone stayed painfully silent. No doorbell. No cars pulling up. Just my dad avoiding eye contact and my mom insisting, "It's better this way, honey. Your brother isn't in a good place right now." That was the exact moment something inside me broke. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry in front of them. I went to my room, shut the door, and started packing my things as quietly as I could. If they wanted a life where my brother's mood decided everything, they could have it. I was done begging to be included. And the crazy part? I didn't have to do anything to get revenge. All I had to do was walk away and watch their perfect family image fall apart without me. Before you decide I overreacted, stay with me until the end. Because what happened after that night turned one ruined birthday into the kind of karma my brother never saw coming. I was halfway through shoving my old camera into the bottom of my backpack when my mom yelled up the stairs for me to come down. Her voice had that sharp edge that meant this was not a request. I walked into the kitchen and found all three of them waiting like some kind of messed up intervention. My mom Rebecca stood with her arms crossed. My dad Tom leaned against the counter, pretending to be calm. And my brother sat at the table like a miserable king on a throne, still sulking like the universe owed him a refund. That was the first time anyone actually tried to explain why my birthday had been erased. My mom looked at me like I was the one causing the drama. She started talking about how Dylan had just gone through a horrible day. How his road trip to the concert fell apart when the car broke down. How he had to get towed back. How he was exhausted and stressed from working full-time at my dad's bakery already. My dad nodded along to every word like she was reading from a script they'd rehearsed together. I asked one simple question. "And that's why you cancelled my 18th birthday without even telling me?" My mom sighed like I was being overdramatic. She told me she'd messaged everyone saying I was sick, that I had a fever and couldn't host the party, that it was for the best for everyone. "You'll have plenty of other birthdays," she said. "Your brother only has this week to bounce back from what happened. You need to think about the family." I just stared at her. In that second, every time "think about the family" had really meant "think about Dylan" came rushing back. Movie nights where I sat on the floor or took the broken chair because Dylan's back hurts. Road trips where the playlist was always his. And if I suggested a song, it turned into a joke about my terrible taste while my parents laughed along. Last year he got a brand new laptop for work and I got his old, slow one with the line, His is still perfectly fine. You don't need anything fancy. All of that stacked up in my head and landed right there in that kitchen. I asked, my voice shaking but clear. So in 18 years has there ever been a day that was actually about me? Dylan snorted and leaned back in his chair like this was the best entertainment he'd had all week. Oh my God, Emma, you're seriously making this about you right now? He said. I just lost my entire trip. My week is ruined. Work is killing me. And you're whining about cupcakes? You don't see how selfish that is. You just have to accept that this week is not about you. I turned to my dad. What do you think? He wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared at the counter and said quietly, I just want everyone calm. Your brother's not in a good place. A loud party would make things worse. We can make it up to you later. I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. I'm not in a good place either. Does that matter at all? Dylan jumped in before my dad could answer. You're fine, he snapped. You always are. I'm the one carrying the real pressure. I'm the one working full-time at the bakery, listening to rude customers, worrying about the bills. I deserve a break more than you deserve a party. The sentence from that morning hit me again like a slap. If I can't have fun, then neither can she. I looked at my mom and asked, so because he missed a concert I don't get a birthday? Is that really what you're saying? My mom's voice went up a notch. She accused me of not having family empathy. Said Dylan had always been more sensitive, more fragile, that he felt things deeper, and that I had always been stronger and more independent. It sounded like a compliment, but it was really just a neat way of saying, we don't have to worry about you. I pressed her. And lying to everyone that I'm sick? That's empathy too. She shot back instantly. I didn't want anyone bothering you, and I didn't want anyone bothering your brother. It was an adult decision. You don't understand the bigger picture. The room felt smaller and smaller. Dylan and I started yelling over each other, his voice full of blame. He kept saying I was the reason the family atmosphere was toxic. That if I would just stay quiet and let things go, everything would be fine. I told him this family had never been balanced, that I was done watching all of us orbit around one person. Our voices climbed higher and higher until my mom was yelling at both of us to stop and my dad was muttering, enough, without actually standing up for anyone. Right in the middle of all that noise, the doorbell rang. Nobody moved. It rang again. And again. Finally, my dad pushed himself off the counter and went to answer it, probably hoping it was a delivery he could hide behind. I heard the door open, then his surprised voice. Claire? What are you doing here? I stepped out of the kitchen and saw my Aunt Claire, my mom's older sister, standing on the front step with a suitcase by her side, looking past my dad into the house. From where she stood, she could see everything. The half-decorated backyard, the untouched birthday cupcakes, my red face, my brother slouched at the table like a storm cloud. She didn't need anyone to explain. One look at that scene and she knew something was very wrong. And in that instant, I realized this night wasn't just about a cancelled party anymore. It was about to become the night everything started to crack. If you're still with me, smash that like button right now, because what Aunt Claire does next completely changes the game. And don't forget to subscribe. You'll want to see how this family meeting turns into a full-blown courtroom of consequences. Drop a comment. Would you have stayed or walked out in this situation? Aunt Claire rolled her suitcase through the front door and stopped, taking in the half-hung banner, untouched cupcakes, and fairy lights still glowing in the backyard. My dad stepped aside awkwardly. I was in the hallway, feeling like someone had just opened a curtain on a scene my family never wanted anyone to see. My mom appeared a second later, plastering on a bright, fake smile. Claire, we didn't know you were coming, she chirped. Claire raised an eyebrow. I texted you yesterday and this morning, she said. No reply, so I thought I'd surprise my niece for her 18th birthday. She looked straight at me. Happy birthday, Emma. Supposedly, I muttered. My mom cut in. She's sick, she announced. Fever chills. We had to cancel the party. We didn't want to drag you up from Eugene for nothing. Claire's eyes flicked over my jeans and t-shirt, the complete lack of medicine, tissues, or even a blanket. Sick, she repeated. Right. My dad jumped in, rambling about how stressful the week had been, how Dylan's trip fell apart, how everyone was on edge. It sounded like he was shaking excuses out of a box. Claire lifted a hand. I didn't ask you, she said and turned fully toward me. Emma, what actually happened? No one in my house ever asked me that. Something in me decided, this is it. I told her my party had been cancelled without anyone asking me. That my mom texted everyone saying I was too sick to host. That my brother came home furious about his ruined concert, said, if I can't have fun then neither can she, and somehow that one sentence outweighed my birthday. Then I told her it wasn't just tonight. I told her about movie nights on the floor while Dylan got the best spot for his back. Road trips where my songs were a joke. The brand new laptop he got for work while I got his glitchy old one because, you don't need anything fancy. You're strong. My voice shook but I didn't stop. When I finished the kitchen went silent. My mom jumped into the quiet. She's exaggerating, she said. You know how teenagers are. Dylan's had a hard time. He works full-time at the bakery, all that pressure. We just try to support him emotionally. Emma has always been independent. She doesn't need us the same way. From the table Dylan scoffed. We're really doing this in front of Aunt Claire? Over a cancelled party? Claire's eyes stayed on my parents. Support him emotionally, she repeated. Interesting. My dad shifted. Claire, that's not fair. What's not fair, she cut in, is that for the past 2 years, I've been wiring you money every month to keep Tom's bakery open. Rent, inventory, extra this month because you said you wanted to do something special for Emma's 18th. And now I walk in and see this. My brain stuttered. You've been paying for the bakery? For 2 years. Claire's face softened when she looked at me. Yeah, she said. When the pandemic hit and the bakery almost went under, your mom called me crying. Said she didn't want you and Dylan to lose your home. I believed her. I thought I was helping a family doing their best. Her expression hardened as she turned back to them. I did not sign up to fund a system where one kid's meltdown matters more than the other kid's milestone. My mom bristled. You don't understand how sensitive Dylan is, she said. We have to be careful with him. Emma is strong. She doesn't need that kind of support. Being strong doesn't mean she doesn't need any support, Claire shot back. Then she looked at Dylan. You're 22. You missed a concert. That sucks. It does not justify canceling your sister's 18th birthday and lying to everyone about it. He rolled his eyes. I didn't ask you for anything. I work there. I'm under pressure. They did what was right for the family. She's the one making a scene. Claire let out a short, humorless laugh. No, she said. What's right for the family has meant, keep Dylan comfortable, hope Emma stays quiet for a long time. I'm done paying for that. She took a breath. As of right now, I'm cutting off the money. No more monthly deposits. No more emergency transfers. If you want to keep the bakery, you figure it out yourselves. I'm not bankrolling you, treating Emma like background noise. My mom grabbed her arm. You can't just cut us off, she said, panic breaking through. We have bills, the lease, employees. You can't walk away now. I'm not walking away from the kids, Claire said evenly. I'm walking away from being your financial plan. You're adults. Live with your choices. Then she turned back to me and her voice softened in a way I wasn't used to. Emma, I can't erase what they've done. But I can give you a way out. If you want, you can come live with me in Eugene. I have a spare room. You can finish school, we'll look at colleges, find you a part-time job that isn't tied to this drama. You deserve a home where your birthday doesn't get cancelled because your brother had a bad week. Behind her, my parents started talking over each other. My mom accusing her of stealing me. My dad begging everyone to calm down. Dylan muttering about betrayal. But it all sounded distant, like it was happening in another room. For the first time in my life, there was a door open that they didn't control. This night wasn't just about a ruined party anymore. It had turned into a real choice. Stay in a house that revolved around my brother's mood, or walk away and finally see what happened to their perfect family when I stopped holding it together by staying silent. Alright, if you're hooked, hit that like button because the next part is where I make the decision that changes everything. Subscribe so you get notified when the fallout drops. And comment below. Would you have taken Aunt Claire's offer or tried to stay and fix things? I need to know what you would do. I didn't make a list. I didn't sleep on it. I didn't wait for some perfect timing. If I had, I knew I'd start shrinking everything down the way my parents always did. Until they canceled my 18th birthday because my brother was upset. Sounded like a silly overreaction. So when Aunt Claire said I deserved a home where that didn't happen, the words came out before I could second guess them. Hey, I want to go. The whole room stalled. My mom's face twisted like she couldn't decide if she was hurt or furious. You are not going anywhere, she snapped. You're emotional. You're not thinking clearly. We'll throw you a party next weekend. We'll make it up to you. You're not tearing this family apart over one bad decision. My dad raised his hands like a referee. Hey kiddo, let's just calm down, he said. Your aunt is worked up. We can talk tomorrow. You don't just move to another state because of an argument. Claire didn't flinch. She's thinking more clearly than either of you, she said. And she's 18. She gets to choose. My mom turned on her. You're trying to steal my daughter, she said, voice shaking. You show up from your perfect Eugene life and judge us, and now you're dangling money and freedom in front of her like some bribe. This is what you always do, swoop in and play the hero. If I were bribing her, I'd have brought a cake and not let you cancel her birthday, Claire said flatly. Then she looked at me. Grab what you need. Clothes, school stuff, anything important. We can figure the rest out later. You don't owe anyone here a performance first. Upstairs, my room felt smaller than it had that morning. The outfit I'd planned for my party was still laid out on the bed. The balloons sagged in the corner. The string lights glowed around the mirror like they belonged to someone else's life. I stuffed jeans, hoodies, a few shirts, my notebooks, the old camera, a couple of books into a backpack and duffel bag. Every time I tossed something in, it felt like I was saying, this is mine. This comes with me. You don't get to decide. Downstairs, the argument kept rolling. My mom accusing Claire of turning me against my family. My dad asking her to give them more time. Dylan muttering about drama and betrayal. Not one of them yelled up the stairs to ask what I actually wanted. When I came down with my bags, my mom's eyes were wet, but I couldn't tell if she was crying for me or for the safety net collapsing under her. If you walk out that door with her, she said, don't expect us to be waiting when you decide to come back. We're not going to chase you while you run off to play the victim. A few months earlier that would have gutted me. Now it just sounded like another rule I was done following. Hey, I said. Then don't expect me to keep pretending this is normal. My dad didn't hug me. He just stood there empty-handed. Dylan stared at his phone and muttered, unbelievable. Like I'd stolen his spotlight instead of my own future. Claire pressed her hand lightly against my back and guided me out. The door closing behind us sounded a lot like a line being drawn. If this story is hitting home, drop a like right now and subscribe because what happens next is a complete roller coaster. My family tries everything to get me back, but not because they miss me. And when they realize I'm serious about staying gone, that's when karma starts handing out receipts. Drop a comment. Have you ever had to cut off toxic family? Tell me your story. The drive to Eugene felt unreal. Portland blurred past, then the freeway, then long stretches of road and trees. At first I questioned everything. Was I overreacting? Was there some way I could have stayed and made it work? Claire let the silence breathe. Eventually she said, you know this isn't your fault, right? Like it was a fact, not an argument. No one in my house had ever said that without following it with a but. He didn't. He just let it sit there. Her house in Eugene was small and warm. Real plants, shelves of books and cameras, and a spare bedroom she handed over without hesitation. It's yours as long as you need it, she said. We can change anything you don't like. The point is you feeling safe. That first night we made burgers on the stove and ate them on the couch watching whatever I picked on Hulu. Nobody checked whether my brother would approve. It was so painfully ordinary it felt revolutionary. Over the next days my life shifted from reacting to planning. Claire sat with me at the table, laptop open, and walked me through college options, scholarships, part-time jobs that weren't tied to my dad's bakery. Whenever I said, I don't think I'm good enough for that, she'd ask, who told you that? You or them. It was uncomfortable seeing how many limits in my head sounded suspiciously like my parents'. My phone didn't stay quiet at first. My mom sent long texts that started with, I'm sorry you felt hurt, and slid into paragraphs about stress, Dylan's emotional state, how hard parenting was. She swore she loved me equally. Said they only canceled because he was on the edge. My dad messaged shorter things, hope you're settling in. We miss you. Never once mentioning the lie about me being sick. For a while I replied politely. Then the tone shifted. My mom started bringing up the bakery. How Claire cutting them off was devastating, how fragile things were. She hinted that if I just talked to Claire, explained that they'd been overwhelmed, maybe she would reconsider. She listens to you, my mom wrote. You're reasonable. Reasonable didn't mean they wanted me. It meant they wanted me to fix this for them, like I fixed everything else. One night, after another message about how they couldn't survive without Claire's help, I set the phone down. They don't miss me, I said. They miss what I can get them. Claire didn't sugarcoat it. She told me about the call when my mom had lost her retail job. About how she'd framed Dylan as the future, the one who would carry the family once the bakery took off. In that story, I realized I'd never really been the main character. I'd been the backup plan, the strong one they assumed would survive being overlooked. The next time my mom video called, showing me every corner of the house like a guilt tour and ending with, "If you just talk to your aunt, maybe she'll help us again," I finally asked. "If I came back, would it be because you want me there? Or because you want her money back?" She hesitated just long enough to answer without words. That hesitation was what stuck with me later, when I started to understand that I had one thing left they still wanted to control. Whether I stayed gone or came back and put myself back in the role they'd picked for me. And that realization was what pushed me toward the ultimatum I was about to give them. The one that would finally force them to choose out loud who mattered more. Hey, if you've made it this far, please hit that like button and subscribe, because what I do next forces my parents to make an impossible choice. And their answer changes everything. Comment below. If your family had to choose between you and a sibling, do you think they'd pick you? Let's talk about it. At some point, the calls and texts from my parents stopped feeling like conversations and started feeling like spam. Every message had the same 3 ingredients: a half apology, a full paragraph about how fragile Dylan was, and a line about how the bakery was barely hanging on since Claire cut them off. One night, after rereading another wall of text about how much pressure Dylan was under, I got tired of wondering where I ranked in their priorities, and decided to find out. I typed, "If you really want me to even think about coming back, then Dylan needs to move out. He's 22. He can live on his own. I will only consider coming home if he leaves." Even to me it sounded harsh. But I wasn't actually negotiating. I was testing them. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The typing bubble appeared, then vanished. Then nothing. No answer that night. None the next day. For the first time since I left, my phone was completely quiet. Meanwhile, my life in Eugene kept expanding in small, real ways. Claire helped me get a part-time job at a little independent bookstore with crooked shelves and a temperamental register. I stocked shelves, recommended books, and went home smelling like paper and dust instead of burnt coffee and stress. That's where I met Ryan, a tall engineering student who came in looking for a textbook and stayed to talk about everything else. When I told him I'd moved from Portland because my family was complicated, he didn't push. He just nodded like he got it and asked if I wanted coffee after my shift. A few weeks later, we were doing homework together at the public library, and for once, my world felt like it was orbiting something other than my brother's mood. One gray afternoon, we walked out of the library laughing about one of his professors, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I looked across the street and saw a dark car parked near the corner. Leaning against it, hood up, hands in his pockets, staring straight at me, was Dylan. For a second, my brain refused to accept it. Dylan belonged in Portland, in our kitchen behind my dad's counter, not on a random Eugene sidewalk. But then he pushed off the car and stepped into the crosswalk, ignoring the light and the honking cars. "Emma," he called. Ryan's hand tightened on his backpack strap. "You know him?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. "That's my brother." Dylan stopped a few feet away, gave Ryan a quick dismissive glance, then focused on me. Up close, he looked rougher, exhausted and wired at the same time. "We need to talk," he said. "Alone." My stomach dropped. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "How did you even find me?" He rolled his eyes. "Mom gave me your address," he said, "and your schedule. She said you're working at some dusty little bookstore and hiding in this library every day. They're worried. They don't get why you're doing this. So I told them I'd come down and try to talk some sense into you since you won't listen to them." Of course they'd sent him. When guilt texts didn't work, send the golden child in person. I took a breath. "If you've got something to say, you can say it right here," I said. "I'm not going anywhere alone with you." Ryan stayed beside me, solid without being in front of me. Dylan laughed without humor. "Fine," he said. "They told me about your little ultimatum. You said you'll only come home if I move out. Do you have any idea how insane that is? You're trying to blow up the family because you didn't get a birthday party." Hearing him shrink my entire childhood into a birthday party made something in me go cold. I'm not blowing anything up, I said. I gave them one chance to put me first. Just once. So what did they decide? His jaw tightened. They decided not to throw their son out on the street to feed your ego, he said. They're not kicking me out so you can feel special. They picked their sanity. It hurt, even though it was exactly the answer I expected. It hurt because he said it like it was obvious, like there had never actually been a question. I held his gaze anyway. So now what? I asked. You came all the way here to tell me they chose you again? He stepped closer, just enough to make my heart rate spike. No, he said. I came here so you can stop this and fix what you broke. You're going to come with me, call Mom and Dad, and tell Aunt Claire you made a mistake. This whole thing ends when you stop pretending you're the victim. My wrist started to tingle even before he reached for it. And in that split second, I knew whatever happened next was going to cross a line none of us could pretend didn't exist anymore. If you're still watching, smash that like button, because what happens next involves police, restraining orders, and my family's perfect image completely imploding. Subscribe right now so you don't miss the explosive finale. And comment, have you ever had a family member try to physically force you to do something? Let me know your story. The second his fingers closed around my wrist, everything else blurred. His grip was hard enough that I knew I'd see marks later. You're coming with me, Dylan hissed. We're going to call Mom and Dad and you're going to fix what you did. I yanked back, but he tightened his hold. Let go of me, I said louder than I meant to. People on the sidewalk looked over. Before Dylan could drag me a single step, Ryan stepped forward and pried his hand off my arm with this steady, controlled strength I'd never seen used in my defense before. She said let go, Ryan said, voice low. Touch her again and I'm calling the police. Dylan jerked back like he'd been shocked. For a second he just stared at Ryan, then at me like he couldn't believe anyone was telling him no. Then the disbelief twisted into rage. Wow, he snapped. You're actually going to call the cops on your own brother because he tried to talk some sense into you? You are so far gone. It's insane. This isn't you, Emma. Lisa and this guy. He jabbed a finger toward Ryan. Have you brainwashed? Ryan didn't flinch. This is her, he said. You just don't like that she finally has backup. My wrist throbbed. My heart was racing. But the fear felt different now, sharper, clearer. You crossed a line, I said. You don't get to put your hands on me. Not anymore. Dylan scoffed. Oh please. Stop acting like some abuse victim. You're hurting everyone. Mom's devastated. Dad's humiliated. The bakery is hanging by a thread. And you're out here playing the wounded princess. You're the one doing the damage. A few months earlier those words would have swallowed me whole. I would have cried, apologized, begged to fix it. Now with my wrist still burning and Ryan standing beside me, it just sounded like what it was. Panic from someone who'd finally been told no. I didn't break anything, I said. I just stopped covering the cracks for you. His laugh was harsh. You're just jealous, he said. You always have been jealous that Mom and Dad actually need me. I'm the one who matters. Without me the whole family falls apart. I held his stare. Then let it, I said. The words hung there between us. His mouth opened like he was going to spit something back, but nothing came out. He took another step toward me anyway, like sheer proximity could drag me back into the old script. Ryan shifted, ready. We're done, I said. Do not come to my job. Do not follow me. If you show up again or put your hands on me again, I'm the one calling the police. And I won't hesitate. I turned and started walking toward the bus stop with Ryan. Dylan shouted after us about how ungrateful I was, how I was choosing some random guy over my own blood, how I'd regret this. But his voice got smaller with every step. For once I didn't look back to see how hurt he looked. That night I showed Aunt Claire the faint red marks on my wrist. She went very still, the way people do right before they explode. He grabbed you, she said. Here. In Eugene. I nodded. Ryan was there, I added quickly. He stepped in. Nothing else happened. That didn't make her relax. We should file a report, she said. At least get it on record. Today it's a grab in front of a library. Tomorrow it's worse. People who think they're entitled to your body because you share DNA don't magically stop at a wrist. I pictured sitting in a police station, retelling the story to some officer who might decide it was just a family dispute. I pictured my parents finding out and lighting my phone on fire with rage. Part of me wanted that line drawn in ink. Another part of me was just tired of them owning any more space in my day. If he shows up again, if he touches me again, we go, I said. No discussion. But for now, I think he finally got that I'm serious. Claire studied my face for a long second, then nodded once. Okay, she said. But I'm holding you to that. 2 full days went by with no calls, no texts, no surprise appearances. For the first time since leaving Portland, the quiet felt like actual peace instead of the pause before another explosion. Then my phone buzzed with a long message from my mom. It started like so many others. We heard Dylan tried to talk to you. He came home very upset. We cannot believe you threatened to call the police on your own brother. This is not who you are, Emma. Then the tone changed. We have talked and prayed about your ultimatum, and we are not going to throw Dylan out of his home. He's our son. He's struggling. Asking him to leave so you can feel prioritized is cruel. We will not do it. My chest tightened, but I kept reading. The truth is, it has become clear that you only want to come back if it's on your terms and to punish us. That is not love. That is manipulation. You have turned Claire against us, and because of that she has cut us off. Do you understand what you have done to this family? We had to borrow money from friends to keep the bakery open this month. We are humiliated after everything we sacrificed for you. This is how you repay us. If you choose to stay there, do not expect us to keep reaching out. We are done begging. We will always love you, but if you insist on acting like this, we will have no choice but to let you go and focus on the child who still cares about this family. I stared at the last line until it stopped swimming. There it was, written out instead of implied. We pick him. Not we have 2 kids and we're going to figure this out. Just a neat little sentence declaring what their actions had already told me for years. I waited for the familiar wave of guilt and panic. It didn't come. Instead, there was this strange, deep quiet inside me, like something had finally snapped into place. I typed 3 words back. Thank you. Goodbye. Then I blocked my mom, my dad, Dylan, the family group chat, every number and thread that led back to that house. My thumb shook a little when I hit the confirm button, like my body was still wired to expect immediate punishment. But nothing happened. No new notification. No explosion. Just silence. And underneath that silence, something I hadn't felt in a long time. The sense that whatever fell apart in Portland from here on out, it wouldn't be my job to hold it together. Alright, if this story is giving you chills, hit that like button right now. Subscribe because the final chapter is where karma catches up to my family in ways they never saw coming. And drop a comment. Have you ever had to block toxic family? How did it feel? Let's talk. Blocking them didn't magically erase Portland from my mind. For a while, I still woke up expecting some new unknown number to pop up with another guilt trip. It never did. The silence stayed and life in Eugene filled in around it. I kept working at the bookstore, learning the regulars and the way the old register stuck if you hit total too hard. Ryan and I fell into an easy rhythm of coffee, study sessions, and long walks through Spencer Butte, where the trees made my old life feel very far away. Then one afternoon, in the middle of drafting a scholarship essay, my phone buzzed with a notification from a cousin I hadn't talked to in forever. She tagged me in a post. It was a photo of my dad's bakery, only it didn't look like his anymore. The sign with his logo was gone, replaced by a different name, and a big sheet of paper in the window read, "Under new management." The caption underneath said, "Crazy how fast things change," with a sad emoji. My heart did that weird jump where dread and relief collide. The comments told the rest of the story. People asking when it closed, someone saying it had been struggling for months, another mentioning that most of the staff had been let go and the vibe had gotten tense and weird before the sale. I didn't need a spreadsheet to figure it out. Without Claire's money and with borrowed favors running out, the bakery that was supposed to be Dylan's big future had been sold off to pay bills. A few weeks later, I overheard Claire on the phone with another relative. I only caught half the conversation, but it painted a clear enough picture. My parents were trying to spin it like a business decision, but everyone knew it was desperation. They were cutting expenses, selling off nicer things, living on pride and fumes. The family group chat, where they used to post pictures of Dylan grinding at the bakery, had gone mostly silent. Some relatives quietly took their side, complaining about dramatic kids. But a lot of people started backing away once they heard Claire had cut them off because of how they'd treated me. The perfect family image they'd curated for years had finally cracked wide enough for other people to see through. As for Dylan, he did what he always did at first. He performed. I'm not proud of it, but I checked his public social media on a friend's phone. There he was posting vague quotes about fake people and snakes in the family, complaining about how loyalty meant nothing. There was a picture of an empty apartment with the caption, "New chapter, no dead weight." Clearly aimed at me and maybe our parents too. The comments were full of people hyping him up. But after a while the post slowed down. Through a cousin I heard why. With the bakery gone, his built-in job vanished. He landed a barista gig at another cafe, but his attitude didn't magically adjust. He snapped at customers, argued with the manager, showed up late. Eventually they fired him. Without steady paychecks, the credit card debt he'd piled up during his stressed provider phase started catching up. He ended up sharing a cramped apartment with roommates he barely knew, borrowing money, complaining to anyone who'd listen that life was unfair and nobody appreciated how hard he worked. The guy who'd once told me, "I'm the one carrying the pressure. I'm the one who matters," was suddenly struggling to carry his own half of the rent. I'd like to say I felt nothing hearing all this, but that wouldn't be true. Part of me felt a sharp, ugly satisfaction watching karma do what I never had the power to do directly. Another part of me felt a kind of tired sadness, not for the version of him who grabbed my wrist and tried to drag me back, but for the version that might have existed if our parents hadn't turned him into the center of the universe and me into the built-in sacrifice. Meanwhile, my life kept moving in a different direction. I got my acceptance to University of Oregon with a scholarship. Claire and I celebrated with takeout and cheap sparkling cider, clinking glasses at her dining table while she told me how proud she was, not just of the acceptance, but of the fact that I'd done the work to get there while untangling myself from a family that kept rewriting my story. Ryan and I went to tiny music festivals and street fairs. Nobody knew my last name. Nobody cared who my brother was. On my 19th birthday, Claire and a few friends from the bookstore put up dollar store decorations in the backyard and surprised me with slightly lopsided cupcakes. There were no lies about me being sick. No last-minute cancellations. No one storming in with a bad mood that suddenly outranked my joy. When it was time to blow out the candles, it hit me. I wasn't bracing for someone to ruin it. It was quiet, simple, and actually mine. Sometimes late at night, I still replay that original evening and wonder what would have happened if my parents had chosen differently. If they'd told Dylan, "We're sorry your trip fell apart, but tonight is about your sister." If they'd apologized without defensiveness, without turning it into my fault, without asking me to be understanding one more time, would I have stayed? Would we have had a chance to fix things before they broke completely? I don't know. What I do know is this. Love that only exists when you're quiet is not love. A family that only works as long as one person absorbs all the hurt is not healthy. When parents label one child sensitive and the other strong, what they're often really saying is, here's the one we'll protect and here's the one we'll expect to survive anything. For a long time I believed choosing myself meant I was selfish, that walking away made me the villain. But watching from a distance as their setup collapsed without me constantly smoothing things over, I finally understood. I didn't break our family. I just stopped hiding the fractures they'd built into it. The moral isn't, cut your family off as soon as they mess up. It's this. Pay attention to what they do when you say, "This hurt me." Do they listen, take responsibility and change? Or do they double down, blame you and expect you to keep bleeding so they don't have to be uncomfortable? When someone shows you that your pain is optional but their comfort is non-negotiable, believe them. You're allowed to step away. You're allowed to build a life where you're not the scapegoat or the background character. So if you were standing in that kitchen on your 18th birthday, decorations up, guests invited, and your party got canceled because someone else had a bad day, what would you do? Would you stay and keep trying to earn your place? Or would you walk out and trust that your worth isn't something your family gets to vote on? I've made my choice. I'm curious about yours. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below with your story, because the more we talk about this, the less power toxic family dynamics have over us. Thank you for watching. You deserve better. And you're not alone.